Welcome to Her Own Boss, the podcast created by recent graduates to help you find your inner entrepreneur. Her Own Boss is created by Anissa, Ben, Sarah, Megan, Lucy, and me, Nikki. Today I'm talking to Olivia Hanlon all about her experiences as a graduate. I found our conversation super relatable, as Olivia shares with us how she managed to get work experience at uni and how it felt starting a corporate job as a graduate to then make the transition to full-time freelancer and entrepreneur. Olivia is currently the founder and managing director of Girls in Marketing, a platform offering support for girls and women to get ahead in their marketing careers. Olivia tells us all about how she started Girls in Marketing, how she's learning to manage a team, and shares some of the amazing things Girls in Marketing has achieved this year. Hope you enjoy! This episode is sponsored both by Rise, created by Barclays, and Barclays Eagle Labs. Rise is a global community of the world's top fintech innovators on a mission to accelerate innovation and growth in the financial services industry. Eagle Labs are a national network that supports individuals and startups grow across a broad range of different sectors. Hi, Olivia.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Excited to chat with you today. So we start every episode with 3 quick fire questions so that our listeners can get to know you a little bit better. So I'm going to ask you 3 completely random questions. Don't think about it too much, but the first answer that comes into your head is normally the best one.
Okay, go on.
So the first one is, would you rather visit the future or go back in time?
Oh, I think go back in time.
Nice. What's your favorite brand and why?
Oh, there's so many brands. Oh, I can't even think. I'd probably say Superdrug at the moment, their own brand, because they're very much kind of forthcoming with things and very kind of cruelty free, and a lot of this stuff's vegan and stuff, and I'm very kind of up for all that.
Nice. And if you could only wear one outfit for the rest of your life, what would it be?
To be honest, I think I'd just go with jeans and a nice top because I feel like I tend to wear that quite often anyway. And you can go out with it and also you can stay in with it. So I probably just have to
Mhm.
use some type of nice top and a pair of jeans to just chill and kind of go everywhere in.
Yeah, agreed. Jeans and a nice top. I feel like I said that phrase so much in uni. Every time you're going out, your friend's like, "What are you going to wear?" Jeans and a nice top.
So wearable, so more casual stuff and then also kind of going outy as well. So if you had to wear it for the rest of your life, then I think that would probably be the best way to go.
Definitely. So, do you want to just get started by telling me and our listeners a bit about yourself and about what you're doing now for work and kind of your journey from university through to where you are now?
Yeah, so I'm Olivia, obviously, and I started Girls in Marketing around a year ago now. It was around September time. I actually had the idea when I was at university to start Girls in Marketing. So, Girls in Marketing is a platform and an online community for marketers. So, people wanting to get into marketing and also those within the marketing industry wanting to upscale and also find a community of like-minded individuals. I had this idea when I was actually at university because I was freelance marketing. So I was kind of offering my marketing services to clients from across the world. And I felt quite lonely within that because I did psychology as a degree. So I wasn't really in with any marketing crowds and I didn't really find comfort in the more blogger communities and entrepreneur communities, and there was a huge kind of gap missing when it came to marketing. So I thought it would be quite cool to have a online community that people, marketers from across the world, can get involved with. And I've always been very much about empowerment and female kind of rights and equal rights and things like that. So Girls in Marketing, the name and also the idea behind it came from that. So I set it up in the September and I was just doing it as a hobby alongside my full-time job. And then kind of as the lockdown started, I would say early this year, we really skyrocketed in terms of numbers and in terms of community because especially during kind of COVID, people were staying inside a lot more. And we actually found that people were really more involved with their education and they wanted to upskill because they weren't actually leaving to go to work or, to go to university. So they wanted to find other ways to kind of upskill their marketing. And that's where Girls in Marketing, the community kind of came in for them. So as we kind of grew in numbers, I had a choice to make in terms of leaving my full-time job. So I got the full-time job before I even graduated. I was straight in there with a job in a marketing department in my home city of Liverpool. And yeah, I mean, when we kind of took off Girls in Marketing, I made the very hard decision to hand my notice in and to go full time with Girls in Marketing, because as much as it was very, very fun doing it as a hobby, it became very overwhelming to do that alongside a full time job as well. But in the end, I decided to take the risk, and it was a big risk, but I think it's definitely paid off because I've been doing Girls in Marketing now full time for nearly 3 months now, and it's really paid off because having the time to dedicate, to the platform and to the community means I'm able to kind of start growing a team now. So we've recently got some volunteers involved. We've always had volunteer writers for the blog, but we've got more kind of team members involved. So it's been a really fun journey. And obviously, I only kind of graduated last year. So it is crazy for me to have come so far so
Yeah.
quickly. It's been a really enjoyable time for me. And it's great that so many people found they needed Girls in Marketing within their life.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, congratulations as well, because I feel like I saw Girls in Marketing when it first kind of came out on Instagram, and it's grown so much from there. And I agree with what you're saying about I've seen the growth of a lot of online communities and platforms since the start of lockdown, especially through social media. I think because we're all kind of supposed to be physically isolated from each other, it's so important to have that support network. And sometimes the only way to have that is just virtually and digitally through social media. So I feel like you've really kind of hit the nail on the head and launched something at the perfect time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we did see huge growth before everything happened. So we did see quite a big growth, but it just kind of happened to spike at a really good time because obviously we have been set up for a lot longer than the kind of lockdown, but
Mhm.
it has just kind of spiked more as people have gained more interest with us.
Yeah, and I guess from the business perspective, why did you choose to go for like the blog and social media? And a lot of the stuff you do is low cost or free as well, which I think is amazing because, it can be really expensive to upskill yourself, whether that's paying for uni or even courses after uni can just be so expensive. So why did you go for this rather than almost a paid for consultancy or a website, an online course where you have to pay loads of money to access it?
I think accessibility is one of the main reasons I personally opted to go for low cost or really affordable things. I mean, in an ideal world, I would offer everything for free, but that is just not really how the world works. And that is why we kind of have a good balance within Girls in Marketing. We offer quite a bit of stuff for free, but then equally, we also have the things that you have to pay for. So we've offered a lot of webinars that have been free, but equally we've offered kind of more workshop style, which are really affordable. And we also have the course, and we have lots of other things coming soon as well. So for me, it's always been about the accessibility. I think the marketing consultancies and people who sell online courses for hundreds and hundreds of pounds, it is so
Hmm.
expensive, and especially we have such a huge audience with students and graduates. You can't expect people to pay such a large amount for something that they shouldn't have to. I myself am a graduate, and I understand that things are expensive, and I often don't want to pay for them. So I would never charge a price that I wouldn't be willing to pay myself. And I think my idea behind it is to just get as many people involved as possible and to just keep it as accessible as possible, because at the end of the day, if you yourself wouldn't be willing to pay for a service or a certain course, then why would you sell it at a certain price that you wouldn't be willing to pay for it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's such a good point. Like, honestly, some of the online courses I've seen, because like you went during lockdown, or kind of as you were saying about how much your community's grown since lockdown, I was kind of spending so much time at home and I was like, oh, this would be a really good time to do some online courses and upskill myself. And then you look at the prices and you're just like, oh my goodness, I can't afford any of this. But if if you're not willing or you can't pay for it yourself, then you shouldn't really charge that. So I think that's a really good way to look at it.
Mhm.
And then I definitely want to touch on some of the things that you said about kind of not studying marketing and how you got experience and then also leaving your full-time job. But for people who um, are kind of looking to start a business with a similar model to girls in marketing, so whether that's kind of the focus on community or social media as a platform, how do you kind of transition from being a blog or a social media account to a business? And I'd also be interested to know if you consider yourself a business owner and an entrepreneur.
So I think transitioning to a business from more of like a blog or an Instagram, it is so difficult. Being able to monetize what you're doing is difficult, and I think it's not necessarily been easy for us either. Obviously we're not kind of a massive business and we're not turning over a huge amount. We are literally a startup, and I think obviously I can't sit here and say you can make hundreds and millions of pounds from it, but it's about obviously the emphasis on community, and being able to kind of monetize your community is very difficult and it takes a lot of hard work. I think the main thing is building up trustworthiness with people, and we're kind of essentially everything we were doing was for free for it near enough 9-10 months of being on Instagram and having a blog. Nothing was paid for, so that took a lot of work from me personally to build up the growth and building up a team of volunteers as well, because you can't be expected to do all of this work yourself, and I did take on a lot of that responsibility. But if you are able to kind of find people with a similar passion and you can find volunteers to help you out, for us it's not necessarily about the kind of profit. It's more just about the fact that we want to give people the opportunity to upscale. We want to give people the opportunity to better themselves as a marketer. And in terms of myself as kind of a business owner and an entrepreneur, I mean, I'm very much interested in business, and I have had kind of brands before and also like a lot coming in the future as well. Me and my partner are very much wanting to get on to the business ladder in other ways. So obviously I have Girls in Marketing and I absolutely love it, but I would never want that to be a business where I was purely just doing it for money. So we are kind of looking at ways that we are looking to kind of create more brands, and very much kind of the entrepreneur mindset in that I'd like to have multiple spinning plates and doing different things all the time. So Girls in Marketing is a great thing for me to get my teeth stuck into, but as I've kind of been building a team, it would be great to try and do something else as well that is more kind of profit and business minded, because Girls in Marketing for me is very much about the community. It's very much about the platform aspect rather than actually making money from it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's really important to keep that kind of community mindset. And also, I agree with what you're saying about kind of having a team around you. We've heard that a couple of times on the podcast that it's so important to just find people who are passionate about the same thing as you. And then they can really help you grow and they can challenge your thinking and kind of come up with new ideas as well. How did you kind of
Mhm.
find your team? Are they your friends? Are they from your own network? Or did you kind of put something out there on social media and say, hey, listen, I need help? And then just kind of saw who got back to you?
So we have a team of writers that write for the blogs. They contribute specifically to areas of marketing. So as you'll know, marketing is a huge industry. And the point of the blogs is for people to go on and really read into specific areas of marketing, whether that is SEO, PPC, paid media, content marketing. So we wanted to be really specific with that. So I put some feelers out on social media, and that was probably one of the biggest posts at the time that we had. There was so many people wanting to get involved with writing. So I just kind of put together a form, and we had, I think it was over 300 applicants applying to be writers for the kind of community, because
Wow.
went really well with everyone. I then kind of emailed people and had chats with people and just decided on a few. So because marketing is so general, I basically decided on about 20 people, which is quite a lot of writers, but as I was just saying, marketing is such a huge industry that it's so difficult to kind of really specify what people are writing about. So it's been going really, really well. After that happened, basically, I decided that I needed some help personally. So even though the writers were kind of part of the Girls in Marketing team, they weren't necessarily helping the running of the day to day of Girls in Marketing. So instead, that I decided to kind of start recruiting more of a team. So people that help more behind the scenes rather than on the actual Girls in Marketing blog. So the writers are still the writers and they will kind of stay as the contributors to Girls in Marketing, but we are now expanding. So Martha, she is now our PR manager. So she is helping us with public relations in terms of, getting us into the big news sites, which would be really cool to do because I think we have such a huge presence online. But when it comes to kind of public publications and things like that, we don't really have much of a footing, if you will. So we want to try and get into things and really get our name out there in more of a corporate world as well. And then we are currently looking for someone to help with email marketing. Some of the CVs and some of the cover letters that I've sent over have been absolutely unreal. For a voluntary position, it's nice to see that so many people are passionate about getting involved with Girls in Marketing. So with that, I can kind of move away from the day-to-day tasks, so the smaller tasks, and start working on the actual community and making sure that things are running smoothly. And we want to, obviously, we do the virtual events and we recently had the virtual graduation, but going forward, we would love to have in-person events. So when they start to become more of a thing, obviously, they're not too much at the moment.
Mhm.
So it's a really exciting time because we are kind of growing our team behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's also exciting. And I feel like hearing someone who is the year out of uni, running a whole online platform and community and recruiting teams and, looking at CVs and interviewing and then setting a business strategy and thinking about what you want to do next. I think it's so cool. And it's not really something that in uni I didn't know of anyone who was like a few years older than me doing that.
Mhm.
How did you learn about all these things? And do you feel like you need to have it all figured out? Because when you're telling the story there, you seem like you've got it all together. I'm so impressed. But do you feel like you need to always have a plan, or has it been a lot of kind of thinking on your feet and learning as you go along?
No, to be honest, it definitely has been thinking on my feet. As I said before, I have started to recruit a team, but that is because things became a lot for me.
Hmm.
It is such a huge platform now, which is absolutely amazing. And I think it's so great how everyone's getting involved. But for one person to solely run that, to be the kind of social media person, to be the person who schedules the blogs, to be the person who posts on jobs boards, to be the person who organizes the programs that we have, and or write the courses that we write, and it is a lot to kind of handle. And then there is the kind of business aspect because we are turning over money. You have to do the accountancy, you have to do the kind of business admin, the bookkeeping. It is so difficult to be everyone. And
Hmm.
I think obviously being like a bit younger than typically people are, I did feel like I was at a disadvantage because I was almost worried that people would see me not as experienced. And it was quite difficult for me to kind of come to the realization that I actually do have a lot of experience within marketing, and I've set up the community and we've grown it amazingly, and so many people are so supportive of that. And I think if anything, it should be kind of inspiration for other people to kind of go off and do things if they want to do it. The 9 to 5 typical job doesn't work for everyone. And, breaking off from that and really kind of getting involved with other things or starting your own business is a great way to do that.
Yeah. And I guess there's kind of two sides to it when you're going to take that plunge to start a business or a new platform or a new community. There's the kind of practical side and thinking about whether or not you know enough. And I guess for you, where do you get that information? Is it like lots of Googling? Do you kind of reach out to people in your network? Is that part of the reason why you're building a team because you want to find people that have expertise that you don't have?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I fully will admit I don't know everything about marketing. I have quite a few years. I did freelance marketing at university. So I have a lot of experience in kind of content and SEO and social media. But when it comes to PPC and, all that sort of area and influencer marketing and stuff like that, I don't really have much experience within that. So I fully kind of admit that I am not obviously the person that can do this. I mean, I'm fully willing to give it a go and I definitely will. So everything is kind of a learning curve for me. And I think it's important to kind of surround yourself with people who are, like-minded and who are kind of getting on with things and doing things in amazing ways as well. I think LinkedIn's been a really key tool for me, chatting to kind of business people and marketers and people who've been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years and have got kind of a whole lifetime of stories to tell. And it's always great to kind of get on the phone with them or get on Zoom with them and have a chat with them. So it's always nice to kind of learn from those people. And I've had quite a few conversations where people have told me, mistakes that they've made that maybe I shouldn't be making. And it's been great really chatting to new people and meeting up with people and just kind of bouncing ideas and getting a kind of feel for people as well.
Yeah, that's great. And as you say, when you speak to people and they're willing to kind of share their mistakes or some of their weaknesses, it can be really comforting because I guess the other part to starting a business is there's the knowledge, but then there's also the confidence in believing that you'll actually be able to do something. So for you, where does that confidence kind of come from? And I guess in particular, you said earlier that you had a full-time job, a kind of proper job in quotation marks. What inspired you to leave and really take the plunge with Girls in Marketing?
So, along with Girls in Marketing, I also do freelance work as well. So, obviously, Girls in Marketing is kind of a full time thing, but it doesn't gain enough money to pay me a wage or
Mhm.
to pay anyone really a wage. So, I do freelance marketing on the side. The kind of thing that made me take the plunge was just the support from people within my network. So, within my family network, and also within the Girls in Marketing community, seeing how much it had grown and how much people were loving it as well, that it could work in terms of a business model and it could work going forward as a community and a platform as well. So I don't necessarily have huge amounts of confidence within myself, but I think the community support and the community vibe that we got from Girls in Marketing give me confidence that it would work. And there are some people that I've spoke to, they come and they tell me that, Girls in Marketing's given them the courage to do a certain thing or to, do something that they would not have considered before. And for me, that gives me confidence because sometimes when you do doubt yourself, it can be kind of gutting. And I think really talking to someone who you've kind of inspired to do something different or to try something new, it gives you confidence that you actually do know what you're talking about sometimes. I think a lot of people kind of do doubt themselves and imposter syndrome is definitely real. It's just about really pushing forward and doing something that you love.
Yeah, that's so lovely. I think it always helps when you get feedback about what you're doing and it's positive feedback as well. So, when you did leave your full time job, did you find that the people around you were really supportive or did you feel a bit of pressure to justify what you were doing? Because I definitely found leaving uni that the expectation, and at least from everyone around me, everyone was applying to full time jobs and trying to go into full time jobs. So, the idea of doing anything different seemed really daunting.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely was. I got a full time job straight away because I'd always moved from school to college to university. So I'd never really had a gap in
Mhm.
between. And I think I very much wanted to experience the world of work. But then the reality of the world of work wasn't all what I thought it would be. And I think I really did learn a lot from the office and I learned a lot from people within the team. And it was an amazing experience for me. But I think the typical 9 to 5 didn't really suit me, and it definitely didn't when it came to Girls in Marketing because there'd be people that I'd been networking with that would message me on LinkedIn, and they'd ask to kind of meet up or they'd ask to do a Zoom call. It was very difficult for me to kind of try and balance, starting this community and this platform and really making it flourish, and also balancing a full time job as well. So when I actually left it, it was not on bad terms at all. It was,
Mhm.
in fact, I on good terms. You know, people were really happy to see how amazing that it was doing. I think there was a pressure in terms of, you know, my kind of network of friends and family to do well with things, because I think when you do leave university and, you know, I got a job so quickly and people were like, this is amazing, you know, you're doing so well. And then to kind of revert back on that and say, well, actually, I'm leaving my full time job and I'm going to kind of pursue this thing that might or might not make, you know, any money. It was quite difficult.
Yeah, I mean that's really nice to hear that people were supportive, and I think you're right. I don't think that the 9 to 5 necessarily works for everyone, and you don't really know what's going to work for you until you try it out. I kind of on that point want to touch on some of the freelancing that you did. So you did psychology at uni. I also did psychology, and I think it's one of those degrees that's so broad and it can apply to so many different careers that it can be quite hard to find work experience or the kind of job that you want to apply your degree to. But how did you start freelancing? And at what point in your degree did you think about doing something outside of psychology?
I loved psychology, so I studied it at
Hmm.
sixth form, and I decided I'd study it at university. But I think that was because for me, marketing was never really a thing in my head. So I know it is a degree, and I understand a lot of people do it and they go on to kind of be successful. But I started off my uni career not really knowing what I wanted to do. I just knew that I loved psychology as a subject and that I would love it as a degree. And to be honest, I loved it in uni as well. And the main thing for me was I've had a blog since I was about 14 or 15. So I've always loved writing. Now, content marketing and content writing is obviously very much based around writing and kind of getting your teeth stuck into, you know, words, if you will. So from there, I just decided to kind of start an Upwork profile. So Upwork is a freelance platform, and basically it's almost like a jobs board but for freelance work. So I just started a profile on that, just because my boyfriend had told me about it, and I just started applying for some really, really cheap jobs. I found it was really helpful for me to kind of build experience in marketing. So I started working for a lady in Hong Kong, and she wanted some blog writing, and she was willing to pay, I think it was $5 for like 500 words. And you know, I did that for quite a while, and after all the fees and things like that, it was probably about £3 per one. So it definitely wasn't worth my time, but that really built up my experience and my confidence. And as I kind of started getting that hands-on experience within marketing, and I started talking to more people, and I started to get kind of more connections, more opportunities just kept coming my way all the time. And I eventually did kind of move off of the platform and kind of started just working with people one to one and talking to people and really helping them with their brand and with their business. But Upwork was a great thing for me and really kind of skyrocketed my experience and helped me really get into marketing. It kind of, you know, spiraled into obviously getting a full-time job. So I do love psychology, and I equally love marketing as well. I think it's very much kind of a different world. Ever since I've started doing marketing, I just fell in love with it. So it very much for me was about kind of getting myself in the industry. And what I love about it is kind of how relevant and kind of now marketing is. It's very much kind of fast paced and everything's changing all the time. It's really interesting for me to like learn new skills and learn new trends in marketing in particular, and it's something that I'm really kind of passionate about now. And I didn't necessarily know that when I started uni, but I think the kind of university experience and getting myself really stuck in with kind of freelance work really did make a difference for me.
So yeah, I mean, I agree. I loved psychology as well, but I think, yeah, I mean, again, there's just so much out there, and I think the world moves so quickly. It's fun to kind of get involved in different industries and test out what you like. And to be honest, I had never even really considered freelancing in uni. I always kind of went for the very traditional, like, okay, I'll look on a career service site or I'll look on a job board, I'll get like part-time work, shift work. But what advice would you give to people, or what tips do you have for people who just really want to try something new and maybe freelancing is the best way to do that? How do you approach clients? How do you maintain those relationships, build them and grow them?
Yeah, well, I actually did work in fast food. So I had the job ever since I was 16. So it never really was about the money for me. It was very much about learning and getting the experience behind me because I found kind of an industry that I really liked. So I think for a lot of people, if it is kind of about the money, it isn't really the way to go. And it's very much for me at the time when I started and throughout kind of university, I was very much looking to build experience rather than get paid for things. So at one point, I was working kind of in fast foods and also doing university and also doing freelance work as
Mhm.
well. I also had like a little job within university, so working kind of events and stuff as well. So I was very, very, very busy. And it did actually come to the point where I realized that the freelance marketing was working for me. And, I was really kind of taking off and I was working with clients on a kind of long term basis that I decided to give my notice in to the fast food place and then decided to kind of go off on my own. It wasn't an easy decision. And I'd never say to anyone to, just take the plunge because it is a difficult decision. And I'd only say leave a job of any sort, full time or part time, if you felt completely confident with what you were doing. And I know obviously you might feel slightly almost worried about the future, but don't kind of let the worry take over. If you know that you have people that will work with you and something that you can do going forward, then it's not necessarily about your own personal confidence. It's just about having the confidence to take that step and to try something new. Freelancing for me was a very, very big part of my university experience. I would just say, if you are kind of looking to get into freelancing, there are so many ways to do it. We have a freelance course on Girls in Marketing, and we've had amazing feedback from it. And it's basically just all about my experiences with it and kind of how to get into freelance marketing. And it's called Your Journey to Successful Freelance Marketing. And I'm pretty sure there's nothing else like it out there to help people. It's affordable and it allows people to get into freelance marketing and how to actually get there, because I know it is so difficult to find the right steps and understand where to start and how to be successful as well. So I devised that course and I've kind of sold it through Girls in Marketing because it was a really big part of my marketing journey, and it still is as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you've already got a girls in marketing course on it already. It's like you anticipated me asking this question. So this has been really, really insightful and I think super helpful for anyone who either wants to get into marketing or has started up their own little side hustle during lockdown and is looking to how to take the next step and build that confidence up. So we always end every episode by asking our guests the same question. And you kind of have already answered it, but I'm going to ask you again and see if there's kind of anything else that you wanted to add to your answer. But what is it that gives you confidence?
I think, as I kind of said before, it's the feedback from people and how much they kind of love what I am doing and what our kind of team is doing. It gives me confidence that, the information that we're putting out there is great. And I think we all doubt ourselves. And even when I was working full time and, I would have meetings with my manager and stuff like that, when I was told I was doing a good job, it was always very much a confidence boost for me. And I think it's the same, when you're even at university and you're kind of doing coursework or doing exams. It's very much about the kind of feedback that you get from people that make you even more confident than before. And I think that is a big thing for so many people, is having the kind of confidence to carry on. And the feedback really does help with that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe or follow so you don't miss the latest on finding your inner entrepreneur.